Romza. So we're here with my favorite friend for many, many years. Welcome to People of Jiu Jitsu podcast number 7. Romza, everybody.
Lucky number 7. Wow.
So we're here with Romza. He's a holistic wellness practitioner, mind-body coach, as well as a trauma and nervous system specialist. You're also a founder of Romza Method, which integrates breathwork and movement therapy. You blend holistic nutrition, martial arts, and neuro-linguistic programming to help people unlock physical vitality, emotional resilience, and spiritual alignment. You were born in Chechnya, facing with numerous health challenges as a child. After fleeing war with your family, you have relocated to New York City, where you adapted to a new culture, language through resilience and determination. You also a Brazilian black belt and have incorporated martial arts into your wellness approach. Finally, you are an author of a few books, including Awaken the Warrior Within. And most recently, I'm so stoked about it because I read it on a plane back from Mexico. You are an author of a digital book, The Tao of Jiu Jitsu, which is apparently available already in a digital format.
Yep.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So, Roma, I know this is going to be like, I don't know, maybe it's going to be an easy decision for you how to start this podcast, how you got into jiu-jitsu or what led you to being who you are today. But I'll allow you to kind of pick where you want to start first. Maybe your upbringing and what you went through.
Jiu-jitsu was introduced to me in the early 90s during my parents' New Year's Eve parties. They had like that illegal black box for the cable. So we used to get all the pay-per-views and Playboy and all that stuff. And on New Year's Eve, they used to show a pay-per-view, which was the UFC. And my dad and his friends used to sit around watching it. And it was like a seed planted in my mind. Obviously, there was no jiu-jitsu available in New York City in the early 90s that I was aware of. But I used to fight a lot growing up in Brooklyn. My parents were always working, so I was running the streets. A lot of fighting. And then one day I got into a fight with a really big guy, and he broke my nose. And I was about 15 years old, and it fucked me up. I thought I was indestructible because I didn't really lose a lot of fights. I was small, but I was really scrappy. And I hit really hard during that time compared to the other kids. I did a little bit of Muay Thai, Dr.Ian, not a lot, but enough to know that I knew what to do with my hands and feet. And then, after that fight, when I was a kid, it broke my confidence. Like I didn't want to come out of my house for a while. I had to get like surgery for a deviated septum. And it kind of fucked me up. But I also think it saved my life, because if I didn't get my nose broken during that fight, and it wasn't like just me and him, it was me and him at the movie theater with like hundreds of people in the fucking parking lot. There's like a lot of people there. Everybody I knew was there. It was like a Friday night at the United Artists movie theater in Sheepshead Bay. And we just walked to the parking lot, and he came with a bunch of people, and they had like baseball bats and knives. And I was just like with a few girls. And they formed a circle, and we were fighting. And, a lot of the stuff that Dr.Ian taught me, because he taught me how to fight bigger guys, because he knew like I wasn't going to continue with kickboxing, but he knew he wanted to teach me how to like fight the bigger dudes, like push, kick, circle, Superman punch, push, kick, circle. And I fucked his face up too, but he broke my nose and it messed me up. And then I didn't get into any fights for a long time after that, and I was 18, I started wrestling, and then I was like, oh, like I want to start competing in this. This is great. I'm training with all these guys. Some of these guys were coming from like D1 colleges, and I was really competing with them at that time. And I was like, I could do this. These guys have been wrestling for 8 years. It's like my 5th or 6th months. But there's nothing I can do. Like you don't compete in wrestling at 18 years old. Like it's over. Like unless you're in like a college D1. So I started looking for jiu-jitsu, and I found a jiu-jitsu gym. They didn't allow competition. So eventually I left. And I started training in my kitchen. I went and looked up how to get mats. I was like, I'm armed with YouTube and a few books. I think I had like a 10th Planet book and potentially Solo's book. Maybe. I'm not sure what the timeline was on that.
Yeah.
But a lot of YouTube videos. And I would just invite the toughest dudes I know from the neighborhood, and I would beat the shit out of them, like in my parents' kitchen. So it'd be like a few days a week. It would just be like a bunch of dudes sitting around in a circle, wrestlers, football, anybody I could find, anybody that wanted to train, like anybody. I was just like, I just want to train.
Why the kitchen?
In the kitchen, yeah.
Why the kitchen?
Well, because that was the only place I could put them down. It was just like enough space for 100 square feet of mats, 10 by 10. And then I went and joined a gym. So I met these two guys. One of them was a blue belt. One of them was a purple belt. Great guys. And we met at the Sambo place on Sheepshead Bay Road. You remember that Sambo place? I don't know if they're still open. There was a Sambo place, like Sambo Judo. It was upstairs above the train station. No, it wasn't the Tatarkin. It was a different guy. I forgot his name. He had an open mat on Saturdays. I met them there, and they're like, oh, like, let's exchange numbers. And it was so fun training together. And then we started training, and then one day they called me, like, we found the gym. Because they stopped showing up at my house. I'm like, what the fuck? And they're like, oh, we found the gym. So I was like, okay. Like, I'll go check it out. And I went to go train at Josh Griffith's gym. I think it's called Clockwork now. And the first month I went and started competing. But I didn't compete under Josh Griffiths. I competed under Team Kitchen. I even had young, dumb, and full of, right? I was like 20, 21 years old. I had Team Kitchen written on the side of my head. And I crushed it. I crushed my first tournament. I crushed my second tournament. Then I started doing the intermediate divisions right away. Josh gave me my blue belt in like a month and a half. Then I got my purple belt in a year and 6 months. But I started to look through all my pictures from like blue to purple. I didn't have a lot. It was early, right?
Yeah,
like, we didn't have media. Like, we just got past like flip phones. And I always had tape. I was taped up on my wrists. I was taped up on my ankle. I had a terrible ankle injury. It didn't heal for 16 months. I was wearing a boot for 16 months. I was competing with it. I learned how to tape my foot, like Thai boxers tape their feet when they break them so they can keep fighting. So I was just like, oh, I'm just going to do that every day. I would go through 2 rolls of tape every week. And then when I got my purple belt, maybe a few weeks later, I think I was training for Pan Am's, and one of the guys I was training with, strong guy, he took his foot and he put it in my belt. He was trying a new guard where he would like take his foot from half guard, and he would be in like a half guard underhook position, and he would take his foot and he would stick it in the belt to keep me away so I can't pass, and he would set things up from there. He was playing around with something, and I was small enough where he can play around with it safely, and I don't know what he did, but I felt like a really bad pop in my neck, and I was like, cool, I'll just keep I'll keep going. It hurt, but I kept going. I got home and it was just like, it wasn't getting better. A few days later, now I can't sleep. My neck hurts. I can't even lay on the pillow. I'm trying different pillows. Nothing's helping. I go to the physical therapist. No, I go to the massage therapist. I get a massage. Nothing. Physical therapist. Nothing. Acupuncturist. Nothing. I'm like, maybe I should go get an MRI. So I go get an MRI and they're like, oh, you have a herniated disc in your neck. And they're like, you can't train jiu-jitsu anymore. I was like, what do you mean? They're like, it's just going to get worse. He's like, you're 21 or 22 years old. He's like, I'll give you a cortisone shot. Like, I don't want a cortisone shot. Because at that time I was doing hospital rotations for nursing. Yeah. So I was seeing all these people getting cortisone shots and like, it wasn't helping though. So I was like, okay, I'm going to figure this out on my own. And at that time I had to like stop training, and I started getting depressed because like jiu-jitsu was all I had, right? Like I was in college, but like I fucking hated college. Like they didn't, I would come in with like black eyes, like you train, right? You get a black eye, you coming in taped up. It It was just like, it wasn't aligned. It wasn't aligned with the path that I was going. And yeah, I had to quit training for a little bit. But I knew I was going to come back. I knew I was going to figure it out. And little by little, I started to figure it out. I found a chiropractor. He introduced me to holistic nutrition, which is completely different from the nutrition that I was learning in college.
Is that your friend?
Dr. Stern.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember.
The greatest chiropractor on the planet. I'm not joking. I've seen a lot. He's the best. He's the best. I've only seen one other person that even compares, and that guy was the PT of the Olympic Training Center in San Diego. Dr. Stern really changed my trajectory. I even thought about becoming a chiropractor after after just being in his energy. Great guy.
Ian, right?
Ian, yeah.
I remember him.
Yeah, you know, I started to feel better. I started to study supplementation. I started my own program. It's right before I met you. I was teaching out of a Taekwondo studio in Sheepshead Bay. And, you know, at first I launched and I was teaching one 14-year-old kid for 4 months. So I was basically paying to teach for 4 months. And on the 4th month, I had 3 students. On the 5th month, I had 10 students. You know, by the 6th month, I had 35 students. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm completely dropping out of college. And I was 2 classes before graduating. I needed 2 more classes, which could have taken a year realistically because of the scheduling. And I was like, I told everybody I'm taking a break, but I knew I wasn't going back. And yeah, I was like, I can do this. I can make a run at it. And I was still a purple belt, you know. I opened up OMG. And yeah, I mean, I had 120 students my first year. And then I fell in love with teaching kids about a year and a half later.
OMG was on my grind. You know, that was the name of the school on McDonald Avenue in Brooklyn. And that was before I came to Fabio Academy Alliance. This is where I started Jiu Jitsu. So my Jiu Jitsu path began with Roma, you know, and I'm very grateful for that because, you know, I could have ended up in much more prestigious academy than OMG was at that time. But I would 100% not get what I got from Rom's way of teaching, him taking me under his wing as far as realizing my potential right away. You know, I'll never forget how you always say, I saw Mike and then I saw his head come in, right? That's the way you describe
the
it.
biggest head in the world. As soon as I seen your head, I was like, dude, this is like the Russian Tito Ortiz. You have a neck and a head like this. I was like, look, I was like, I don't know what you did before, but there's so much potential just there. And it's a big, handsome head too. So it's like, it's a lot of handsome, you know?
So I remember coming in and Edgar was there and Squirrel, right? Yeah. And in the back, there was a changing room. So I changed and then, you know, I did like an intro class, I think with Edgar, you know, he put me on pads. He's like, all right, let me see you do this. And I realized, oh my God, like, cause I was working out, right? Like this is so awkward, you know, the bear crawl, the hip escape. What is all of this, you know? And then, you know, I kind of started getting into it. And my friend Mitch Schwartz, you remember Mitch, I have to mention him. He also really, really liked you. He will always ask me, how's Rome doing? You know, because Mitch lived in Jersey. Mitch passed away half a year ago. God rest his soul. He's such a good human being. And anytime I have a chance to mention him in person on a podcast now, or his memory crosses my mind, I always put that information out there. So even one of my dearest first pictures in jiu-jitsu is me wearing the same rash guard. If you remember that brand long sleeve.
It was like a black and white rash
black
guard.
Black and white was it was kind of koi fish with
like
some
the waves one.
yeah.
I remember that one.
No, but this one was made almost out of like the material as my polo short right now. The company was I forgot what it was called, but like we stunk those things up so quickly because we didn't know the proper process of washing it and everything else. But the point I'm trying to say is like your academy with whatever you had already, with the few students, few kind of coaches, right? And you were purple belt, you said, right, at that time. You had so much potential already, and this organic energy and atmosphere that you created, and again, knowledge and being patient with explaining to us, big dudes, to what it's like to be gentle and quick at the same time. That's very appreciative of me because I took it with me all throughout this years. And no, OMG was great. We can talk more about it and the competitions that we had, and the in-house tournament that you had. I mean, it was great. But so yeah, OMG times was amazing, and you already were kind of hurt during those years.
Yeah, I just started getting back to training, like because I had two herniated discs in my neck, and then I eventually developed two more in my lower back as well, and I tore both my rotators. I mean, life is rough for a 130-pound jiu-jitsu guy. Like, people just don't understand, like, especially if you're good at jiu-jitsu, people don't treat you like you're 130 pounds. Maybe the first roll, but after they feel it, they're like, oh, I'm going to kill you. Like, it's just like, there's like a switch, and then it's just, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Rome was always very good with guillotines, and it's very like sneaky, annoying, and very painful. Especially like he'll let you, mount him, and then like out of nowhere there's a guillotine, right? And I understand that feeling because I was almost like not expecting it, hit me so quickly, and then the way you also taught us guillotines back then. Scooping the ice cream, that's pain in the butt because you can't swallow for a few days. But no, you were very quick, but also remember you being taped up. And see, like now I'm putting two and two together, realizing that you're already in pain, discomfort.
I was in a lot of pain. I mean, there was a time where I remember having a conversation with my mom because I had to wake up for clinical rotations at 5 a.m. Well, I had to get there at 5:45, and my clinical rotations were in Long Island. So it was a bit of a drive. And there was 3-month period where I maybe slept 2 or 3 hours a night. And I don't know if you've ever had like a stretch where you have poor sleep, but I came to a point where I thought I was going to kill myself. I had so much anxiety. I started having panic attacks. Like, I was just falling apart because I was just in so much pain. Like, I would be laying there sweating, looking at that clock, waiting for it to turn like 4:30 so I can get dressed. I got into 2 car accidents during that time on the highway. I mean, it was a fucked up time. And yeah, it took time to unwind how that all happened, because it wasn't just the injury. There were so many other things at play in my life, in my body, that were going on that that needed some attention.
How were your parents dealing with you being hurt and
Well, I mean,
stressed?
they're busy working.
They were
Just
doing
like
good.
every other immigrant in New York. Everybody's working. Like, they have their own shit to deal with. They were worried, but like, what are they going to do? They can't like tape me up themselves. But it little by little, it started to like get resolved with effort, with the right effort, because I was obsessed. I wanted to train jiu-jitsu again. I did not want to quit jiu-jitsu because I mean, even at that point, even at Josh's gym, I saw hundreds of people come in and quit. I mean, you see it all the time in all the academies. The quitting rate in jiu-jitsu, and it's not because people don't love jiu-jitsu. Almost everybody that tries jiu-jitsu, that sticks with it for some time, falls in love with jiu-jitsu. It's like crack. But the pain is just unbearable for a lot of people. It's just like, at a certain point, who cares how good your half guard is if you can't get up off the floor? if you have to like push off your knees to get off the floor. Like there's a problem. There's an overarching problem in jiu-jitsu, and it presents itself in, by the time I get good, I'm too crippled to even express it. And I didn't want to be a statistic. I became obsessed with trying to fix it. And then from there, I mean, that's one of the main reasons why I even closed OMG or gave it away, was because I needed more knowledge and wisdom. And I wasn't going to find it in New York. And when I moved to Costa Rica, after that, I started traveling the world, like looking for all these obscure, almost esoteric places to find how to fix myself, because I knew that I wasn't the only one with the problem. I was seeing it everywhere. And I knew that at first I thought it's apparent. Everybody sees it. But then when I would talk to people, they're like, I never even thought about it this way. And I was like, fuck, maybe I'm the only one seeing it. And I was like, maybe God gave me a 130-pound body so I can get broken, so I can fix this, and I can help other people enjoy jiu-jitsu. And that's how I started to look at it. Because at first I was like, this is a curse. And then I was like, no, this is a gift. This injury, this destruction of my body was a gift. Because without it, I wouldn't have anything to teach outside of a bunch of footlocks and guillotines and fucking half guard. But that's not why people come to jiu-jitsu. They come because they're looking for something more.
So you moved to Costa Rica, right?
Yeah.
Why Costa Rica in the first place? And like, how did that come about from New York to Costa Rica?
I had an experience with plant medicine in 2011, ayahuasca. And it was right before Hurricane Sandy. And my gym didn't get touched during Hurricane Sandy. So we opened up the gym to collect donations. We collected, because we saw how fucked up everything was. It was a scary time, Hurricane Sandy. And we collected like 1,000 bags of clothes and food, and we started driving it to like Rockaway, Staten Island. Like, bro, there's places that houses were torn up off the floor. And I was like, National Guard's not here, Red Cross isn't here, we're there. And like, there's kids running around naked because their house burned down. And I was like, New York's not a safe place for me to raise my kids. I just didn't feel comfortable there. And then when I drank plant medicine, it showed me other things that I needed to clean up in my life, and that Costa Rica was my next journey. And my grandmother was sick with cancer, so I was still taking care of her. And when she passed away at home, I was like, okay, I'm ready. So I packed up, I sold all my mats, I sold my kettlebells, moved to Costa Rica with $3,500 cash, my ex-wife, a baby, a 5-year-old, and a couple $100,000 in debt from school.
Can you tell us, I'm very interested in the ayahuasca trip that you took. Just curious. I have some friends who've done various, things to enhance their, vision and just the view of life, right? So you did ayahuasca in Costa Rica?
No, New York.
New York?
Brooklyn. But that was the first time. I also lived in Peru for a month and a half drinking medicine.
I was going to say Peru is...
And Costa Rica. Yeah. What do you want to know?
Well, just can you sum it up?
Yeah. I do not recommend ayahuasca to tourists, and I'll explain. If you want to get in shape and you're out of shape, or you want to gain some weight, you don't start taking steroids right away. Does that make sense? You get your nutrition right, you start exercising, you start sleeping better, you optimize your life. And if you still want to take it to whatever next level, you can take steroids. Does that make sense? Ayahuasca is steroids. Okay. It can be the best thing that ever happens to you in your life, or it can be the worst thing that ever happens to you. Because what you see, you cannot unsee. And if you don't have the capacity to withstand that energy that comes in, because it's like drinking out of a fire hose of information. Does that make sense? It's so much information that it gives you.
And it stays with you.
And it stays with, like, once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
And it cracks reality for you. Like, once you see it, you realize that whatever you've been doing for 20, 30 years of your life has been a fucking scam. But then you can't unsee it. So then what happens if you don't change it? If you can't change it, then you're depressed.
Yeah.
So it's better for some people to not see it.
Or it could be a good eye-opener to some, right?
It could be. But this is what I tell people. Look, get your breathing right. Learn how to breathe better, so your nervous system has a higher capacity, so you can deal with the stress that's coming in. Learn how to move better, so your body's not in pain. Learn how to eat properly so that you're fueling yourself like a human would. Optimize your gut. Make sure your gut bacteria is the gut bacteria that you need to have in there. Get rid of the toxins in your body. Then when you're ready, you can drink ayahuasca. But don't drink it and then try to do all of those things. Because what's going to happen is you become like an ayahuasca tourist. And I've seen them. They come there for the show, but then they come home. They don't do anything with the information. So you go and you speak with this ultra intelligent entity, and then it tells you what to do with your life. And you're just like, fuck it, I'm going to go back to work on Monday. You know, and it's just like, what a waste of an experience. Like, I personally don't even drink it anymore. It's been like 6 or 7 years because I don't need to. Like, I don't have I know my path. I know what I'm here for. I know my purpose, and I don't need to deviate from that purpose.
Right.
Like, I am on purpose.
I didn't ask in the sense that I want to do it or I steer people to try looking into it. I was just curious because I have a few friends who done it or looked into it or have more information than me. I was just curious about that. All right, so you're in Costa Rica.
But does that make sense?
No, absolutely, yeah. If you can't change the information, if you can't do anything with the information that's given to you, which is so drastic and important, most likely.
It's like can't is one thing, or if you're not willing to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, if you're not willing to, then don't put all that extra burden on your shoulders.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to read a phrase because this is very realistic to what was just said by you. So in your last book, you wrote, well, it's actually by Hippocrates, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the phrase is, before you heal someone, ask him if he's willing to give up the things that make him sick. This is right on the point of what you just said.
Exactly. This is ancient wisdom. Like, this isn't like just something that it's very modern because it's coming back in a modern way, but it's ancient wisdom. Like, the healers of the past all knew this, because most people are sick not because of some random occurrence in their life. They're sick because they're misaligned with who they came here to be. And they're doing the things that are making them sick, like how they eat, how they think, how they breathe, how they move, how they live makes them sick. I mean, look around. You live in New York City. It's one of the sickest places in the world in some way, shape, or form. It probably has some of the most highest anxiety and depression rates. And it's just like, why? Well, it's because people aren't willing to give up what's making them sick. Pizza tastes good. Like, going and fucking smoking weed all day it's great, right? Going to the bar on Thursdays and Fridays and Saturdays and sometimes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday it's people aren't willing to give up what's making them sick. And you know, it's always been like that, even during those times with our wise predecessors. Yeah. And I love humans. I really do. Like, I swear to God, like, I was just telling my lady, I was like, you know, I came to New York to share some love. That's it. That's the only reason why I came, like, to share like what I have inside of my heart. And then I go back to home.
Yeah. No, I believe in that because I feel like my purpose in this life, besides all the important tasks that I have in front of me or with me, I also very similar to what you serving as a human being. You know, you serving somebody in sense of you giving out, whether it's the energy, whether it's your time. You know, you give them more than you're receiving. Let's put it this way.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that, you know, because I feel like I get ammunition from, you know, hearing the thank you sometimes, or seeing somebody smile, or seeing somebody saying, "Oh, that makes sense," or you know, in whatever sense, whether it's jujitsu, whether it's my business, whether it's what we're doing here, and one person, you know, out of a group is gonna listen for 40 minutes or so, and this part will make sense to them, you know. Um, so you in Costa Rica, I believe you had a school there, right? A very successful school.
Yeah, no, not right away. I had one person that I met there. He was a purple belt. He was a real estate agent. Me and him were training. We had puzzle mats that we would put out on the parking lot. And it was like 120 degrees. Costa Rica is hot as fuck. And we would just train outside under the
Let
scorching
me guess.
sun.
Parking lot crew?
Bro, no, no, no. It was just, well, there was a different academy in town, and I got kicked out of the academy. I got kicked out of the academy. I trained there a couple of times. And then, that kind of, and I didn't want to open up my own academy. Like, I had supplement companies at the time. I was just making it work, and so I got kicked out of this academy, and there's a part of me, I was just like, fuck this shit. Like, nobody's taking jiu-jitsu away from me again. Like, before it was injuries, now I got kicked out, and I'm like ostracized from the inner circle, because like it's a small town, it's a
Yeah.
small surf town. I was like, I'm gonna open up my own space. And we found the space, we opened it up, and we're like, we're gonna focus on kids. I love teaching kids, and then we'll have adults. And we opened up a space for the really poor kids in the community. Because there's a lot of like shady stuff that was going on over there with like in the communities, right? A lot of human trafficking and like pedophilia, like a lot of stuff. And we were like, well, we have to empower these kids somehow. Like, we have to like share this gift with them. So then, like, so now two things, there's two forces working. It was like me being like, nobody's taking jiu-jitsu away from me. And the other one was like, we have to figure out how to empower these kids so they can protect themselves. I can't protect them. You can't just go around beating people up and like, or killing people. Like, it's just like, it's not sustainable. But if you empower a child to protect themselves, that's sustainable. And then you can empower more of them. So we opened up a space. 3 months later, we had to break the walls and expand the space double. So we expanded the space. 3 months later, we're like, fuck, we're running out of space. So we got another space. We had a huge space. It was like 3,500 square feet with a second floor. And yeah, it blew up. It blew up. Right now, I think it has like, I don't know, anywhere between like 140 to 180 kids. Like they come there on like a bus. They pay. Everybody pays. Nobody gets it for free. Everybody pays, but they pay what they can. If it's 1 colone, they pay. You cannot give people things for free, because then their self-worth becomes lower. They have to be able to reciprocate the energy in some way, shape, or form. Does that make sense? So I never let people like train for free. I said, you have to bring something. I don't care what it is. Something, a coin, a fucking shell, something. And that empowered them, because like, some people might not even show up if they can't, if they can't pay, but if you can give them like this, like a fucking coin. And it blew up. We had, I think it was 7 national champions in our second year in Costa Rica. Almost all girls. We had a girl choke out her father when he came home drunk, trying to beat up her mother one day. It was a very inspiring project. I don't run that project anymore, but I think it's the biggest jiu-jitsu nonprofit
What was the
in the
name
world.
of the academy?
Hero Academy. Hero Academy. And their focus is they run retreats now. So a lot of the big names go there for retreats. And yeah, and they run the nonprofit. And yeah, shout out to Hero Academy.
Yeah. Common spelling, hero?
Hero, Hero Academy.
Got it.
And it was just like, it was a big win. It was a big win. And when I moved back to the United States, they kept running it. And during COVID, from what I hear, they fed like 150 or 180,000 meals because Costa Rica shut down as a country. And most people in Costa Rica only have enough food for one day because they don't have refrigerators.
Unbelievable.
So yeah, it's a beautiful project. I have a lot of gratitude for being able to start it, and I got a lot of fulfillment from the project. Working with children is very invigorating for me.
So Costa Rica to where you are now?
No, Costa Rica to San Diego to Las Vegas. COVID hit. I just opened my doors when COVID hit, and because everybody was like fucking stressed out.
Wyoming, right? That was another.
So Las Vegas, then living out of my truck. I have a tent on my truck, and I was living out of my truck. And then I went to like Utah, California, Wyoming, Idaho, Washington. I mean, all the beautiful states.
You were just feeling it out, or that was?
I was just feeling it out. I was looking for home. You know, I was looking for home. I want sustainability is a really big value for me. Freedom, wellness, sustainability. Those are core values for me. And a lot of places, you know, they didn't provide those things. So I started to look for places that could potentially provide that. And I would go and I would teach workshops and seminars, and I would go and like live in the forest for weeks on end, or stay at like people's houses. I mean, yeah, it was a beautiful experience.
I'm looking at Rome's t-shirt and it says Rome's a method. And let's read what's written upside down for those that understand Russian.
Sila и сознание.
What does that mean?
Strength and consciousness.
Yep. How important are those two, especially together?
Yeah. Indestructible.
You think first is сознание, understanding?
I think strength. I think in a lot of ways strength, because you know, the physical body has to be developed before the mind in a lot of ways, because that's where we were born into. We were born into this body, this vehicle. And we've been trying for the last 100 years to use psychology to change the way the mind works. And we failed miserably. Our anxiety rates, our depression rates, our suicide rates are through the roof. People are medicated left and right. And the reason for that in a lot of ways is because the system is a failure. The system is a failure. And it's not because the doctors are bad. It's because the doctors are given a very limited set of tools. And just like in jiu-jitsu, if you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So if you're a psychiatrist, well, everybody needs a pill, you know? And from what I found was that if you go from the bottom up, using the body, regulating the nervous system through the breath, through movement, through other practices, through nutrition, you can alleviate the majority of symptoms that people are seeing in the modern day world. Because what we're seeing right now is just symptoms of stress. Everything is stress. And yeah, like that's why I think strength comes first. If you can be strong, you can develop consciousness. But, you know, it's like that saying, it's, how does it go? It's, if you're weak, you're not peaceful, something along those lines. If you're weak, you're not peaceful. You're just like, you're harmless. But if you're strong, then you can choose to be peaceful. I'm paraphrasing. But does that make sense? Like when you're strong, you can choose to be conscious. But if you're weak, you're not conscious. You're just scared. And like strength in this day and age. And when I say strength, I really mean adaptability. I don't mean strength where strength over anyone else. I mean inner strength, self-mastery, self-discipline, understanding that you are enough, that you are worthy, that you are powerful and capable. That's strong. To trust yourself, that's strong. To know that you're a good person, to know that you belong in the community of the world. That's strong. And from there, you can grow consciousness. Strength is the roots. Consciousness is up top. So strength and consciousness.
Beautiful. Rom, so what you doing now, right? Your way, ability, knowledge, experience to help people. I was part of your retreat in Boise, Idaho, where you live presently, with a bunch of really cute animals and amazing garden, which has organic vegetables and so many other stuff. And, it was a one of a kind experience, for me at least. And I'm sure all the other members that were there with me would feel the same about it. But you taught us a lot of breathing rituals, ability to breathe properly with your stomach, right? Am I saying it correctly?
That's zone 1.
Yeah. And everything else. I mean, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I talked about this at one of my podcasts of my trip to see you. But just maybe explain to listeners like how you able to incorporate all of your knowledge and experience with so many people whose life you have touched. And obviously, people outside of jiu-jitsu, people that you deal with don't necessarily have to be in jiu-jitsu. This is open for the public.
Yeah. What's the question?
The question is just explain exactly like how you're able to incorporate your knowledge. I mean, I personally understand, because what you explain is everyday people would deal with stress, all these other issues. And if, as you mentioned, you fix the core, or you find what the core problem is, then the ability for somebody like you to come in and help is very, it's out there. It's more realistic for people to understand what exactly could be done for them.
Yeah. With the curse that I suffered, with anxiety and structural issues and gut dysbiosis and dysregulated nervous system. I mean, I was sick almost my whole life. I've taken hundreds of doses of antibiotics, like hundreds of cycles of antibiotics, IV and oral. And that really fucked me up, because if you kill off, I'm going to go off on a little tangent and I'll come back, but if you kill off the proper bacteria in your stomach, you change as a human being. Bacteria is very important inside of us, and like the allopathic establishment has almost bastardized bacteria, but if you look at what we're made out of, it's like bacteria, fungus, viruses. We're more of what we are not than what we are. So it took me a really long time to come back to who I'm supposed to be, because I didn't even know like who I was, because my physical vessel was completely dysregulated. So through that curse, I found my gift, because I believe that the universe or God or whatever it is that you believe in has a really ironic sense of humor. Like when I was born with a lot of physical deficits in a lot of ways. Like I'm not 6 feet tall. I'm not 200 pounds. I'm not overly athletic. I'm not. I didn't have a strong immune system. I had a lot of issues. I had allergies. I had asthma, and I had skin infections all the time as a kid. But it's like through those curses, I was able to figure things out. I'm like, no, I want to be stronger. Like I want to be able to do what I love to do. I want to, and through that want, through that desire, I was able to develop it inside of myself. And I was like, man, if I can develop it inside of myself, some of the guys that I work with are actually like genetically gifted. Like some of these guys are just like, they're super smart, super like athletic. And I'm like, oh, wow, imagine what I can do implanting, because it's systems. It's all systems, right? Like jiu-jitsu is a set of systems. It's a bunch of protocols that have like a major system and like subsystems, and it's just like every position is its own system. Then you have top, bottom, blah, 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 blah. But this is the same thing. So it's like, if you are teaching somebody jiu-jitsu and you see that they have a really weak, I don't know, open guard on the left side, you're going to develop systems on the left side for them, right? Like you're going to be like, okay, do this, the same thing. Like when I see people, I take my assessments. I have assessments. I assess their nervous system. I assess their toxicity levels. I assess their mindset. I'm constantly assessing people's language patterns, because with your language patterns, you can see what's going on internally, how you speak externally to other people, how you speak about yourself. You know what's going on in somebody's head. Then you can start tweaking things. You can start experimenting, and everything's an experiment. I'm a scientist, but I'm also an artist. So I see people, they come to me with complex issues that they couldn't solve otherwise, or they haven't been able to solve otherwise. And then we dissect those issues, we break them up into parts, we prioritize those issues, and then we just like knock them out one after another. Because if you expand your capacity in your nervous system, you expand your capacity for stress. If you expand your capacity for stress, then you can handle more pressure. Well, that's in jiu-jitsu, that's a blessing.
Yeah.
In business, that's a blessing. If you can handle more clients, that's a blessing. If you can handle a bigger team, that's a blessing. If you can deal with crisis in a way that other people, well, if you can deal with sticky situations where other people would call them a crisis and you would see it as an opportunity, you win. So that's basically, I just give people a different perspective in their physical body, in their emotional state, in their psychology, and overall like their energetic state through breath work, movement. And I've studied countless different modalities, nutrition.
Do you give
detox.
people homework?
Yes. Lots of homework.
I got homework.
Lots of homework. Lots of homework. And according to everybody's capacity. Like for example, like our breathwork program, we give people 7 minutes of homework a day. They do 7 minutes of homework, and the first thing that they do is they expand zone 1. So this is zone 1. We have zone 2 in the rib cage, zone 3 in the back. And the more you can expand your capacity, the better you sleep, the stronger your erections, the more calm you can disagree with somebody, the better your relationship with stress becomes, like lower anxiety, lower depression, just more awareness. Yeah, homework. But I've had people that take this 7-minute homework and do it 9 times a day because they're struggling. Like I've worked with people that have escaped cults before. I've worked with special forces guys that have been killing people for 20 years. Like they have different needs than a jiu-jitsu dad, or a business owner that has a multi-billion-dollar company with 1,800 employees. They have different needs than a father of 2 that is a weekend warrior and sometimes does the Pan Ams. But you know what I mean? Like very different needs. So everybody gets like a custom protocol, custom homework. Very different than school. Because school, you come in, you're stupid, you're smart, you get the same homework. we're all reading the same book.
Can you demonstrate some of the breath work?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you need to put a mic close to you?
No, I just need to take off my shirt.
Okay.
Okay. Most people breathe in a way that stimulates their sympathetic nervous system. So their sympathetic nervous system is fight, flight. Okay. You can call it sympathetic nervous system. You can call it spinal sympathetic. It depends on like the perspective that you're looking at it from. When you breathe, here with your clavicles, your neck, your traps, like this. So if we all take a big deep breath in and we breathe like this, that stimulates your sympathetic nervous system. What does that mean? That means that when you breathe this way, it's basically shooting a cocktail of chemicals inside of your body that makes you feel not safe. It makes you feel vigilant, like you're more hyper vigilant. You're easy to make react or overreact or underreact, because some people have different nervous systems. So if you are overwhelmed, some people explode. You know those people. But some people shut down. Same thing though. There's just a different way of expressing it. And with time, your body breaks down because God, the universe, whatever, creator made this thing break in case of emergency. But it's not, if you live in New York, it's always an emergency. We spoke about it earlier, right? Like you have to hustle, you have to grind, you have to figure it out. But not really. Like nobody's fucking trying to kill you. I mean, that homeless dude outside might be trying to kill you, but he just wants a little bit of weed. Like he's struggling himself too. So when you develop that, you develop more compassion for other people too, because you see what they're going through. So, okay. So when you breathe here, especially through the mouth, you stimulate the sympathetic nervous system. When you breathe lower, nipples and under, so this is zone 1, this is zone 2, zone 3, and then we go zone 4 over here. I teach people how to open up. I have specific exercises to open up each zone. So for 1 week, you do this. For 1 week, you do this. For 1 week, you do this. And I systematize it. And then when you do all of those, so you see, like a pregnant woman. Here, open, and then look. Then again. The wider you can expand your ribs are supposed to have like about a finger that goes inside here. You're like your intercostals, your ribs, they're supposed to expand. They're supposed to be flexible. A lot of people in jiu-jitsu break their ribs. Why? Because they're breathing upwards and they're not breathing outwards, because they're stiff, and they stiffen with time. If you don't use it, you lose it. And yeah. So what can you do? Well, you can practice breathing into this area. You can practice breathing into the rib cage. Here's a really easy exercise. You can put your hands on your belly, or one hand on your belly right below your belly button, and one hand on your clavicle right here, these two bones. And you're going to first exhale and then inhale. And then when you inhale, tilt your pelvis. So you're going to tilt your pelvis. So that would be zone 1 breathing. And I would start there. That's a purely parasympathetic zone. So what does parasympathetic mean? It means feed and breed. So feed, breed, rest, relax, recover. We need all of that. If you live in New York City, you need all of that. It's not just feeding and breeding. It's also relaxing and recovering. Every part of your body is designed very intelligently to give you a certain type of result or effect. Does that make sense? Is this too crazy?
No, I'm with you.
All right, cool. I'm just checking in, right? Because sometimes like I'll get too technical with
No, you're doing great. I'm just blown away with the breathing part.
Yeah. It's you can control your mind through your breath. Obviously, there's some reprogramming that needs to happen as well, but it's a lot easier to learn and program your mind, your body. It's a lot easier to learn techniques when you don't feel like you're in danger. If you feel like you're in danger, it's really hard to learn stuff. You know, like if you give somebody a math problem that's really stressed out, like it's really challenging. Or teach them a complicated like sequence in jiu-jitsu. How many people do you see getting taught something in jiu-jitsu? The coach will go over it 5 times,
Yeah,
and then they're like,
daydreaming.
yeah, or their nervous system is dysregulated. I mean, I've seen over 4,000 people since 2018, 17, 4,000 people. I've measured them. I have the data. I've seen world champions. I've seen billionaires. I've seen Navy SEALs. Dude, nobody breathes correctly. Everybody's breathing at a really low capacity of what they could be doing. And the problem there is like, imagine what they've already done, right? Like incredible businesses, blah, 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 incredible like careers. And yet they've been functioning at 20% of their capacity. Like, I'm sure you've heard this before, that humans use a very small percentage of their brain. I think that part of it is potentially because we're running in a space of fear. Like, humans are not supposed to be like worker bees or ants. Like, they're supposed to be creative expressions of love and kindness and creativity. I mean, think about it. You're an artist, bro. Like, I know it's hard to like truly accept, but you're an artist. Like, look at what you do. Like, look at this. This is art. Like, you're jiu-jitsu artist. Like, you love like creating stuff. Like, you love like the whole fucking thing. Like, you got the whole thing, bro. But you're an artist. Like, you're an artist, you know?
Oh,
It's
I'm
like,
definitely an artist. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
imagine
Yeah.
like if you would have known that earlier on, like how you can develop that, you know? But it's like, you can't know that earlier on if your body is in a state of fear.
Yeah, what helps is when I'm advocating for my son and what he's doing and guiding him a certain way, ideally a right path, and telling his friends. Recently we took a trip together, and I'm watching their eyes and their just expression. They're listening to me with a lot of interest, and I'm trying to continue spiking that interest in them, but I'm also trying to guide them, you know, in the right direction. I'm always repeating this, and some people might say that my parents did a poor job. They did a fantastic job, but just like your parents, just like a lot of parents from that age, from that era, from that country, they were so busy doing and putting together their whole life. Why I'm saying this, what helps if somebody when I was younger do what you're doing for people right now, or even a little part of what I'm doing for certain people. Because I found that I'm an artist, as you're quoting it, very late in my life.
Well,
somewhat recently.
relatively.
Yeah, somewhat recently. But it would help if I realized that, and I don't know what would change, but I feel like I would feel more secure with myself, definitely,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, mentorship is so important. Mentorship is the most important thing. Like, that's what we do in jiu-jitsu too, right? Like, you go and you find the black belt that resonates with you. Like, for a really, bro, I got my purple belt in a year and 6 months. It took me another 13 years to get my black belt. And one of the main reasons was I couldn't find the black belt that I resonated with. Like, I couldn't find somebody that like I truly felt aligned with. Cause like, you're stuck with that person kind of for the rest of your life, or in the rest of their life, right? And like, I didn't want somebody that just taught jujitsu. Like, I wanted somebody that would understand me as a human being. Yeah, and it took a really long time to find that.
I will say that I was on a plane 2 days ago. Great airline, always use it. What a stressful job stewardess have, because stewardess, I'm realizing, they have to put down that fire, that inflammation, because the pilot and the co-pilot don't come out until there's a knock on the door.
Like the filter.
Right? Those, the cabin crew, they supposed to be trained, and that's already another conversation, whether they have full ability to put that fire out. So I was sitting in row 12, and most of the airplanes, 11, 12 is the exit, for, what do you call it?
Like the exit row.
Exit row, yeah. Right. So they have this quick chat with you, take the headphones out. You guys okay? In case of an emergency, I need you to verbalize saying yes. Everybody said yes. There was a gentleman sitting on the left hand side by himself. Right. And the first thing he did, he started watching a game. It was a soccer game. Now, he was from a foreign country. I'm not gonna mention, what language the game was on. It's irrelevant, but it was in English. And it was very loud. He had no headphones
Like on his computer.
on his computer. Yeah, it was real loud. My son was fascinated because it was a game that he was trying to watch, but he had no Wi-Fi, and my son was like, oh, and then he took off his shoes and he started walking barefoot. Now his wife and kids were all the way in about 30, 31 somewhere, and he's barefoot. And we took off, we midair, and even people sitting next to me, they're like, "Oh, we're just gonna have to listen to him watching it." I said, "Oh, I think it's a really important game." And then I guess enough people complained, and the stewardess addressed him. And once, twice. And then his aggravation, his anxiety level raised the stewardess anxiety and stress level. Right. Another stewardess came. And then they basically asked him to move out of the seat, go to his family. They don't feel comfortable. Because imagine the situation now is so hot. They don't feel comfortable sitting, him sitting next to that door. He's literally next to the escape door. Right. So I offered my help to sit where he sits so that he could sit in, let's say, not where I was sitting, but in seat C instead of A. And they said, no, we just purely want to get him out of there. So we're like an hour and 20 into flying back. And given my knowledge, experience, and I'm not a police officer, but I understand.
But you play one on the plane.
There was so I understand what might happen now, because if we divert to, I'm already playing this whole scenario in my head. I gotta work tomorrow. I'm gonna have to help take this guy down now because he's irrational, and again, he's got his wife and kids in the back. So that is kind of calming me down, that he will come to realization. None of that happens. So 3 stewardesses are talking to him, and he's like, what is the problem? What is the problem? I lowered my volume, but I don't want to move. So I wanted to use the bathroom, and all of a sudden the guy behind me said, behind me, taps me on the shoulder. He says, stay put. So I look at him, and I figured he might be like
like an air marshal.
Air marshal. He wasn't. He was just a regular guy from Connecticut. And I was wearing a jiu-jitsu t-shirt. It didn't say jiu-jitsu. It said jiu-jitsu something, in small letters. But I guess that logo and my calm demeanor and
Bro, and your huge fucking head.
right?
Your neck is this big. You look like you just came from the Olympics.
Yeah. Well, there's people always bigger than us, right? And size in relation to calmness and feeling confident. Why I'm telling this whole story, right? That to me, it's so much more important. Anyways, he relocated himself, but they were like fascinated with the fact that I was willing to do all of this. I figured it out. I just wanted to get home. And I told him, I said, whatever you guys need from me, I'm here to help. Why am I telling this story? I'm sorry if I'm boring you guys, because I feel like understanding and realizing and foreseeing certain situation happening and preventing them from happening is what jiu-jitsu teaches us. I'm sure proper breath work and all the studies that you can incorporate into a person's daily routine is also going to be a tremendous help.
For sure.
What is one of the what's not in your dictionary? Like what words or phrases that is purely not in your dictionary that you don't use, that you don't kind of like won't even hear, that you might not agree with in terms of like it's strictly you can't.
I can't. That's like fucking gross. Well, because it's just like everybody can, whatever they can. Like it's not you're not really like you can't. Like you're just not willing to, or it's not important to you. Like everybody can. Like people are like, oh, I don't have time. Like motherfucker, what the fuck are you talking? You don't have time to breathe? I've had people tell me I don't have time to breathe. Where I'm just like, all right. Cool. And then like a year later, they're like, bro, why didn't you tell me earlier? It's like, you told me you didn't have time to breathe. Like people are so caught up in like their own story of like the excuses for their life. Yeah, I can. Like I will. I love it. I get to. That's even better, right? Like I get to. It's a privilege for me to do this. Like it's a privilege for me to stand outside and people watch. Why? Because where I live, I don't have people. I have elk and deer and my animals and hawks and eagles, and like I get to watch these people passing by and I get to smell them. And I'm like, oh, you guys smell terrible, but I'm gonna enjoy it because I get to do this. Does that make sense? Um, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah, because look, like we all have life going on. And what if you could just make it better? What if you could just make it a little bit better on like a big picture thing? Like what if you just created more space? That's how I describe it to people. Like if you breathe better and if you do some of these practices, they take 10, 15, 20 minutes a day, where it's just like, that's 20 minutes less than you're scrolling. That's 20 minutes less that you're fucking arguing with yourself. Mostly, right? Because most people that are arguing with other people, like they're just really arguing with themselves. The other person is just like the external expression of what they're feeling.
Very well put.
So
Yes, I agree with you 100%.
So the reality is, it's just like, what if you can, for some time, how I describe it is like create a moat. Like there's you, there's Mike, there is the kingdom of Mike, right? The kingdom of Mike, you have a castle. And if somebody comes by your kingdom and your nervous system is dysregulated, all of your soldiers come out and they're ready to fight. And it's just like a homeless beggar. Like they didn't even do anything. They just like, some people are just always ready, especially out here in New York. They're just like, they're always ready for something. But if you regulate your nervous system, first of all, your soldiers become better trained because they're not reactive. They're responsive. They choose their response. They choose the words that are going to come out of their mouth because they know that words can kill. Words are so destructive, but they can also be like honey to somebody's ears. So they choose the words that are like honey because, well, okay, you're already physically trained. You're a black belt. You restraining that guy would have literally been like restraining a child. Probably even easier than a child.
Yeah.
And it's like, so as you start going deeper into some of these practices, like incorporating pressure therapy into it, and what happens is you build a moat around your castle. You know what a moat is? So like the river around like the castle, like my moat has crocodiles. My moat has like lava and like crocodiles that float in lava. My moat is super wide. I have a fucking drawbridge. You know why? Because I know that if somebody comes around my castle and they shoot an arrow at my castle, it's not even going to get through. I don't give a fuck. I used to be the guy, bro, if you fucking sniff your nose at me the wrong way, we're fighting. And now I'm just like, I just don't care. Like, I don't care. I have nothing to prove. Like, I have nothing to prove. I didn't come here to be the biggest, the strongest, the toughest. I came here to be the best me that I can be. And the best me that I can be is not going to go like fucking rage on somebody that cut me off on the Bell Parkway. Like, it's just like, it's not aligned. The best me is going to be like the kindest, most loving, gentle me that also has boundaries, obviously. And that's a leader for my children. Like you said, oh, I'm trying to keep them engaged, those kids. Bro, you're super engaging. you just living your life is super engaging. You're like a superhero to those children. And the more you go into that, you don't even have to say anything. You just are that thing. And they don't listen to anything that you say because they're just vibing with your energy. Like, you have great energy, you know? And it's like those kids, that's what they need, because they need strong men in their life. We don't have a lot of strong men out there in the world today. Like, most families are divorced. So the father's not even in the house. And, or even if he is in the house, he's working all the time. So they don't even get to spend time together. So does this make sense?
Yeah, well, it's actually the reality of those kid life, you know, some better, some worse, but you know.
You are like a beacon of hope for those children, because to them, they're like, I want to be like Mike. Like those commercials used to be like, I want to be like Mike, you know, Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson for some kids, Mike Tyson, Mike Kalika.
There you go.
The 4 Mikes.
I'm gonna accept this compliment. My wife's been teaching me to take it in, say thank you. I was really bad at, like, I wasn't bad at saying thank you. I always say thank you. I type up an email, I say thank you after me putting out there what I have just done work-wise. But I was told by my wife that I have to just, you know, let people finish their whatever they're saying to you.
About you.
About me.
That's the hardest one.
Whatever.
It wouldn't even land, right? Like you were like Turkish oil wrestling, and it's just like.
What are those pants, by the way? Is that leather?
I'm not sure.
Have you seen those guys wrestling? The hand goes in.
Well, when you change that well, the thing is, like, it's really hard for you to hear, for everybody to hear those things, because you don't talk to yourself like that. If you would talk to yourself like that, well, first of all, it would be a different language pattern. But second of all, what's really weird about that, your voice would be different internally. Because when you speak to yourself kindly and when you speak to yourself like an asshole, it's a different voice. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like when your kid comes over to you and you're kind, you speak to him in a more gentle way. But when you're angry, it's like it's a totally different expression. And internally, we're not even used to that voice, especially if we're Russian immigrants.
Ron, what was going through your head, and also what has inspired you when you wrote Awakening, the Warrior book?
Awaken the Warrior
Yeah.
Within. I wrote it in Peru. I wrote it in the jungle. I for 2 weeks, I did something called a dieta, where you eat super bland food. You're not allowed to talk to anybody. You're not allowed to look at anybody. You're not allowed to write. You're not allowed to read. You're not allowed to listen to music. And I was just swimming in the Amazon by myself, hoping that a piranha wouldn't eat me. And just being with myself for 2 weeks. And one day the electricity blew out in the whole little village. And in the darkness, I wrote the book. I wrote the whole outline for the book. And when I came home, I published it when I came back to Costa Rica. Yeah, that's what inspired me to write that book. The Tao of Jiu Jitsu was a totally different inspiration.
Mhm.
I was just so tired of selling the same thing to jiu-jitsu practitioners, because everybody I would meet had the same style of jiu-jitsu, that porrada all day style, every day, like go hard, fucking train super hard, like grind, and they're all broken. And I was just like, dude, like there's a different way. Like I've been doing this for 20 something years and I'm feeling great. And I was already broken. It's like, you just don't know where it's going, because most of them are going to quit. Most people quit. I had a conversation with a guy that came by, really successful business guy, 260 pounds, told me, 260-pound guy told me every day he trained jiu-jitsu, he felt like he was dodging bullets that can keep him from doing all the other things in his life. So he had to quit jiu-jitsu as a blue belt. He said, every day I trained, I thought I was going to get a life like changing injury. And it's just like, you might have. So I wrote it specifically for those people and be like, no, there's still hope. Like there's still hope. You just have to change your perspective of how you train. Like you don't need to be the toughest 40-year-old or 30-year-old or 20-year-old. You just have to stick around long enough to get good and stay good. And your focus needs to be not the world champion, but I'm going to beat the shit out of my grandkids when they're older. Like I want to be a threat to my grandkids, even if they're black belts when I'm in my fucking 60s or 70s. And like, that's my goal. Because like, who cares if you're a black belt? Like nobody cares if you're a black belt world champion. Like nobody cares. Like people don't care. Like they forget how many black belt world champions are broken and everybody forgot about them already. You're only a black belt world champion for this year.
Yeah.
And then next year, we moved on.
I competed recently.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. I mean, I do it all the time. This one was, I feel like, very important to me. I mean, all competitions are important, but funny story is that I hit like a plateau as far as my weight, right? And usually I clean up my diet 2 weeks prior. No sweets, obviously no alcohol, and lots of training. But the New York lifestyle, as you just described it, coming from Boise, Idaho, and your central nervous system and lack of sleep and large amount of stress, they hold on to that weight, and your body's like, nope, I'm not letting go of it. And I was running, and my tenants in the darkness, because I like to run in the evenings, and they saw me running, and she looked at me like almost like she knows I train jiu-jitsu, but she, like, for a split second, she looked at me like, really? Like, you running? Like, I feel like those are the thoughts of like, why? And when I came home, I took a picture with my doggie. I put a medal on her, and my tenants, she was outside, and she's like, "Oh, you?" I said, "Do you know why I was running?" She says, "No." I said, "Well," and I kind of quickly tried to explain to her, but there's so much that sometimes we have to do behind closed doors, and that work is for us. That's not for the podium picture. That's not for Instagram. That's not for our parents, friends. This is for you. This is for you if you wanna, because you know where you are physically, mentally. Is your logic in check? Are you really good on weight or not? Are you really ready for this competition? And the competition could be anything in life.
Yeah.
So the word to the wise is just kind of check yourself quite often.
Yeah. Before you wreck yourself.
Just be realistic with where you are in life, and I know this might sound like a broken record, but we all know where we are, where, how stable we are. So I don't know. I'm actually very proud of myself to be able to push through. Like, I made weight. It was like harder for me because I haven't competed in New York as often during COVID, right, years, as I did outside of New York. And when I'm outside of New York, I'm there by myself. My mental preparation is different. I don't really have to work the day prior, and but it just all of that put together. So it was great. I felt great, and I yelled. I was like, "F yeah!" At the moment, like, he's like, "You good?" I'm like to me that was already a win. And I literally told myself, "Let's fucking go." Like I remember telling myself, "Let's fucking go," and nobody, whoever was in front of me, however many matches I had, like, it was irrelevant. I knew I'm gonna wreck.
Poor guys. Those poor guys.
And not to take anything away from my opponents, but I just felt so mentally ready, just based on making weight.
Yeah.
And I always make weight.
That's a big victory. The first victory, the one that's in your mind.
So it the story is not really about making or not making weight. It's just about feeling mentally prepared to step on the mat or to encounter any kind of problem in life.
Yeah. Well, it's all high pressure, right?
Yeah.
Like competition, raising kids, running a business, fucking going through a divorce, going through a family problem. Like it's all high stress. And you get to see what, like if you squeeze a lemon, you get lemon juice. Well, if you squeeze a man, you see what's inside.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not what they thought.
Any familiar faces?
Oh, so many. So many familiar faces.
I put 2 Alexes next to you.
Oh, of course. Of course.
My buddy Alex Eklund from Masterskaya, great human, and one of my biggest jiu-jitsu inspiration, Alex Churnashvili.
Alex is great.
Alex is awesome. I look up to him a lot. I always say this. As a matter of fact, my my opponent in this recent tournament told somebody that I know that he's going up against a judo guy, and I'm not judo guy.
But you delivered. But you delivered.
And Alex taught me. I mean, like he saw me doing drop sayonage, and he was like, "Hell yeah!" He wrote some positive comment as always, and I thank him a lot for bringing me not only some of the technique, the clumsy technique that I have, but more importantly, Alex gave me a lot of mental stamina and toughness because he don't give a shit.
He's a stud.
So thank you, buddy. A lot of these men and women are amazing humans in jiu-jitsu, outside of jiu-jitsu. So Kurt is here. April, we just had the previous podcast. Numerous time world champion, good friend of mine. Everybody has somebody in this life. You know who this gentleman is?
Which one? This guy?
This is
No.
He's a dentist. Yeah. I took this picture a little differently in different light settings, but it's extra special to me. Amazing people. I try to kind of change it up every single time. Thank you to everybody for the endless support.
Jiu-Jitsu's got some great humans.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite humans in the world I met on the mats. Because you get to see what a person's like. Like there's a lot less like pante. There's a lot less like because everybody's the same, right? Like everybody's wearing a gi or everybody's wearing a rash guard and shorts. Like your money doesn't matter. Your muscles don't matter. Like what you've accomplished before doesn't matter. It's just, what does your jiu-jitsu feel like? What does your jiu-jitsu look like? Can you win? Can you lose? Can you still smile doing either one? Can you still be a kind human? Like, how do you deal with pressure? How do you give pressure? Are you a fucking goon? Do you not care about other people? Right? Like your style is very like soft and gentle when you're training, like, especially when you're training with me, like a lot of big dudes don't train like that. So it's like you get to see how they interact. And I wrote about it in the Tao, where it's just like you can use it as a reflection for yourself, obviously, but you can also be like, I like this person. I like how he trains. I like how he lives. Because how you breathe is how you live. How you roll is how you live. When people are mean on the mats, well, they're probably mean in other places too. They just might hide it in a different way. But the mats are so revealing. You're kind of naked. Most people don't realize that. If they did, they would probably be a lot more careful with how they roll.
Rom, how could people reach you?
They can go on my social media. They can go and get the Tao of Jiu Jitsu. It's on highperformanceprotocols.com/something. I'll send you a link. Yeah, they can just go to my social media, Romza, reach out.
I'll post all the links in YouTube video description, from websites to Instagram, whatever is necessary. It all will be there, including the links to the paper and digital copy of the book. Now to one of my favorite parts of this podcast is
Dance party. Like Borat.
Bring him out. Let's do some blitz questions.
Let's do it.
And normally these blitz questions were supposed to be in and out, 1 or 2 minutes. Ernest is already looking at the clock. He's like, this guy is always taking forever. All right, so let's go. Number 1, coffee or tea?
Tea.
Cat or dog?
Dog.
Gi or no gi?
No gi. Easy.
Favorite sub?
Guillotine and straight ankle lock. Same sub, just different parts of the body, but same exact thing.
Toughest roll you ever had?
Lovato or Jimmy Harbison. Both felt like they were squeezing out the last of the toothpaste. You know, when you have a little bit left and you're fucking squeezing it, that's what it felt like.
First thing you do when you wake up?
Smile, keep my eyes closed, take a deep breath, smile, and just picture my day. Picture all the things that I'm grateful for. Acknowledge that I have a limited amount of these moments, again, like a limited amount of times that I'm going to wake up. So to appreciate it to the fullest.
This took me back to our breathing exercises.
Mm.
Guys, seriously, I have experienced an amazing journey with Rome, and we've done numerous breathing and other exercise, from like monkey grips to hanging onto the cords. What are they called? The bars, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, walking on parts of your feet where your foot is not even comfortable, but Rome, from the way he's sitting, you can tell he's very flexible. But it's not just him being very flexible. He's working on being more flexible, more agile, and he's teaching all of us. Well, he did teach all of us within a week a lot of very important information. But it's very difficult to understand things just by me or even Rome explaining things. You have to kind of, I feel like, experience it yourself. So I'm advocating based on my experience for what Rome is teaching. What he's doing is very, very helpful, useful, and beneficial to our everyday life.
Yeah, we're launching like an online dojo where people can just like follow along on their own, like all the videos and stuff, explanations, theory, practices, like very simple stuff. So we're launching it on the back end of the Tao. So
Good stuff.
we've been having a lot of requests for it from the people that bought it. So it'll be fun. It's just like just take care of your body in a way that's more sustainable for jiu-jitsu and for life.
Okay, a few more. Have you ever had psychedelic experience?
Yeah. Yeah, just a couple.
Well, you did cover it, right? During your time in Costa Rica.
Peru, Costa Rica, Brooklyn. I mean, yeah. Psychedelics, but you can have psychedelics with breathwork. Like you can have a psychedelic experience with breathwork too. Like you can have a massive DMT release from your pineal gland with just breathwork. Yeah, but yes, lots of psychedelic experiences.
Martial artist that simply blows your mind.
Martial artist that simply blows my mind.
Remember, I didn't say jiu-jitsu artist.
Yeah, of course.
Could be in a few.
It's hard to say. I wouldn't say blows my mind, but I have deep respect for Bruce Lee as a pioneer of holistic thinking in the martial arts in a lot of ways. Yeah, I would say in the modern era, Bruce Lee, because he put together philosophy, he put together multiple different types of martial arts. He was an artist, obviously, like he was a movie star. Yeah, I the first person that comes to mind is Bruce Lee.
You feel like you resonate with him well.
Yeah, I feel like he carried himself very
Graciously.
yeah, gracefully, as a martial artist and as a man and as a philosopher and as a human. And I think that he was the first iteration in the modern world that presented a more holistic framework, because back in the day, warriors also did medicine. Like warriors carried around uh, acupuncture needles and herbs with them, because who the fuck is going to heal them on the battlefield? And now it's like so separated, you know? But like he had that essence where he was more complete, you know, like this is what he did. And I felt that a lot. And I hope that I can carry that essence and the inspiration into my life as well.
Beautiful. Okay. Mountains or ocean?
Mountains, easy.
In a few words, what describes your philosophy?
Freedom, wellness, sustainability, purpose.
Best advice to a younger version of yourself?
Slow the fuck down. Slow down. The faster you go, the slower you get there. The slower you go, the faster you get there. You'll make a lot less mistakes, you'll get a lot less hurt, and you'll actually enjoy the journey if you go slow. Like make love slow, do jujitsu slow, parent slow, read slow, breathe slow, and life will take care of itself. Slow the fuck down.
Similar to this question, a great advice that you've been given to that kind of stuck with you and you learned a lot from that.
I think back to an Amar Hayam quote, and it was, to live wisely, you only need to know a few things. I'd rather starve than eat whatever. I'd rather be alone than with whomever. Choose your inputs wisely. What you consume, you become. And even deeper than that, what you consume, consumed, you become. So be mindful of the information that you consume from the digital world, your environment, the movies that you watch, the music that you listen to, the people that you hang around, the food that you eat, what your food ate, what you drink, what you think. And you will be able to recreate who you are as a human being consciously, without any forms of programming, or at least a minimal forms of programming or manipulation. Choose the books that you read wisely. If the new book comes out, read an old one. Yeah, be mindful of what you consume, because what you consume, you become. And it's a lot easier to choose it mindfully from the get-go than it is to undo all the damage of all the institutions that we're part of. Homeschool your kids.
What is something you are currently unlearning?
Unlearning? Currently unlearning. Still slowing down. Still slowing down. Speed. I'm currently, and probably always, unlearning speed and learning to be more present and to enjoy the ups, the downs, the painful moments, the joy-filled moments. I'm unlearning my programming to, like what you said, right? Like I can't, you're like, oh, like it was hard for me to accept the compliment. Well, for me, it was really hard to accept winning and accept success in certain ways. Not because I didn't accept it, but because I already moved on to the next thing that I'm working on. And yeah, just savoring it, you know, like my son, when he eats chocolate, he'll take little bites. He'll eat, or any snack. Like Chloe makes egg custard from our chickens. So she makes egg custard with raw milk, and he'll sit there with the spoon. I swear to God, like we have, like, she gives us this much, and he'll take like just the tip of the spoon and be like, And then he'll like process it and he'll do it and he'll leave it. He'll put it back in the refrigerator for 3 days. And he'll just do that over and over again. And like, how much have we walked away from that or moved away from that? Like, we don't enjoy anything. Like, we enjoy the Ferrari that we buy for a week until we want the McLaren. And it's just like, slow down and enjoy. Like, you're not going to be here. You're not going to be this young. You're not going to be this vital in the future, especially the way that most people are going. So slow down, unlearn the speed. You don't need it. It's all an illusion. Those people on Instagram, they're not happy. They're not healthy.
It was all a dream.
Yeah. I used to read Hip Hop magazine.
Yeah.
Salt and Pepper.
Very sensitive to that topic. Not the song. It's what you said.
Like, wow, you really love Biggie, huh?
I do love Biggie. If your life was a movie, what would it be called?
Living slowly. And it would be really fast at first. It would look like Scarface for the first like hour. And then it would slow down and look more like Coming to America. Or no, Once Upon a Time in America, not Coming to America. Like really slow and like enjoyable. And like every detail would be like really conscious and really well experienced. Not thought out, but experienced. Yeah. Yeah, it would be living slowly in America.
In your opinion, what is more powerful, intuition or logic?
Oh, intuition. Not even in my opinion, it's a fact. Intuition, your unconscious mind is millions or million times at least more powerful than your conscious mind. And there's no coincidence that people say, "Oh, I felt it in my gut." That's where intuition lives. That's where your diaphragm is. That's what breathing expands. Because if you're in a state of fear, a lot of people are like, "Oh, I felt it in my gut." Yeah, motherfuckers, because you're scared. But if you can stop being scared, you can truly tap into that inner wisdom, because you'll start getting downloads. You'll go to sleep or you'll be in the shower and you'll get a download for like that next business idea that you've been waiting for, or that thing to say to your wife that's going to fucking melt her soul, like that. And it's just like the intuition is so much more powerful than our logical mind. Our logical mind is literally like retarded. And and I mean that in like the most like slow. To retard is to slow. Like, it's slower than our intuition. You know, when you're sitting in a room and somebody's staring at you, you can feel it. That's not your conscious mind. That's your intuition. That's your unconscious mind. That's your energetic field. That's picking up information. It's picking like I think your conscious mind, it's like 120 bits of information, and your unconscious mind is taking in like millions of bits at the same time. So yeah, it's so much better. Like Spider-Man.
Yeah. Favorite place you ever traveled to?
Favorite place I ever traveled to? So far?
Yeah.
In this life?
So far, yeah.
Inside of myself. Inside of myself, and exploring the inner depths of my being has been my favorite place to travel, because I've been all over the world, and until I accepted myself truly and deeply, it didn't matter where I traveled to. I never enjoyed where I was. And then when I accepted myself and I started to love myself, no matter where I was.
You like being you?
Yeah, I love being me. It's the only one I know how to be. I can even enjoy being in New York now. I was standing on the corner by the pizza store and smelling all the colognes and perfumes and the smoke. And before, it used to like irritate me when I would come back to New York. And I was sitting there and I was so grateful that I have the opportunity to stand on 8th Avenue and just enjoy the frantic, hectic, chaotic, but beautiful buzz that is New York City. So yeah, right here, right now is my favorite place because this is the only place that exists. All the other places don't even exist because I'm not there. If a bear shits in the woods and you weren't there, right?
What is the most warrior thing you have ever done?
The most warrior thing that I've ever done?
Yeah.
Forgive myself, forgive others. That's the hardest thing that I've ever done. All the other stuff is easy. Fighting, choking people, like getting punched in the face, punching people. It's like fucking easy. Forgiveness. That one is hard. That one is hard. Yeah. Loving myself, accepting myself, forgiving myself, the most warrior thing I've ever done. Cutting off what is not contributing to my best self. Yeah, that.
Mm-hmm. One item to take with you on a deserted island.
Am I there by myself?
Yeah, but you can take a body. That would be an item in my book.
Knife. Hunting knife. You can do a lot with a hunting knife. Yeah, hunting knife. And a video course on survival. I got some buddies that I might take, but they might still need a knife.
What is your definition of freedom?
To be present, to be self-accepting, to be self-directed. So to be able to, I mean, there's a spectrum of freedom, right? Like I used to have a definition of freedom back in the day, and it was I get to do what I want with who I want, when I want, how I want, and for why I want, right? But it's changed because freedom for me is freedom from, not even freedom to now, like a freedom from having to do stuff, like freedom from having to move fast, freedom from having to stress about stuff that doesn't matter, freedom from the weight and the baggage that I was carrying and the fear that I was carrying and the trauma that I was carrying and the pain that I was carrying by choice, really, by choice. Like I was carrying it because I didn't want to put it down, because I didn't know who I would be if I would put it down. Because what am I without those ideas and beliefs that I've carried around for 30 years of my life? So freedom from beliefs and ideas and thoughts and language patterns and movement patterns and breathing patterns that are not contributing to my ultimate self. That's, for me, that's a huge part of freedom. So that's a really wide definition, but there's spectrums there. My first definition was freedom to, but my later definition became freedom from. And yeah, mostly from myself or who I thought myself was. Yeah, freedom. And bunnies and chickens, right? Your friend.
So cute. What's your bunny's name?
Peanut butter.
Peanut butter. He's adorable.
He's a big bunny now.
Chickens are a bunch of bullies.
We have 9 chickens now.
You're stealing food from him.
Stealing food for him.
Ron, when I met you so many years ago, I had a feeling that, understand what I'm trying to say, you're going to be somebody in this life. Because you were already somebody back then. But I had a feeling, because I stuck around at your academy for X amount of time, and I liked it. That's the reason why. I liked knowing you. I liked being with your crew. I appreciative of the knowledge and the seed you kind of input, the information, or that you input into me. And then organically later, my wife has discovered you through, somehow she did. And it's funny how things work out, obviously, in favor of both of us. We have reconnected. And I feel like in this time you have grown and learned and has taught so much. But more importantly, listening to you, I understand that you have discovered yourself first and foremost, and you're able to dispense this energy and knowledge from within, as you describe, to help others feel good about themselves, feel healthy once again, feel appreciated, which is so difficult for some of us. So I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank the universe, because you will understand this more than anybody, for allowing us to reconnect, and for how I messaged you recently, say, hey, when you going to be in New York? And you're like, I don't know, dude.
Never.
And then
Never.
a few weeks later,
2 days later.
2 days later, you're like, hey. And I was away, and I was hoping that Ron would, still be here when I'm back. So if you do shit right, if you do things organically, if you believe in good energy, good stuff will always come back to those who do good stuff. And it worked out for us. Thank you for being here. I think people are gonna benefit a lot from listening to this. And like I said, I will post as much information about your literature and how to get a hold of you if they haven't yet. And you're a true blessing for many of us out there with all of your information.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate
Thank you for being here, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Yeah, I mean, even miracles manifest for me. And if you can carry that into your life, miracles will happen. If you believe that they'll happen, well, then everything becomes a miracle. And every pain, every bruise, every heartbreak is an opportunity for rebirth. So thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for giving me the platform to talk to your people. I love the jiu-jitsu community. I know you do too. I mean,
this is our people.
Yeah, I love the jiu-jitsu community, and I always will love the jiu-jitsu community. It gave so much to me, and I get to serve them in the best way that I can and share my gifts with them as well.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Us.
Us. Us.
Us.